this was our, kind of our pumpkin. I'm kidding.
I'm starting to feel that.
He does this every year.
Yeah. I like to say she was sad I was leaving.
See
You
you.
must have been really, really bored by this.
Welcome back. Oh, yeah. I'd say that in German, but I don't know it in German.
It was interesting.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Jason.
Glad
Oh,
you
maybe.
made it.
I never heard it,
You've
yeah.
been there for a month. How do you not know what the street
A little.
Weinstein.
Last month.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for her to cook for the county.
I know, yeah, I'll get it.
Strawberry pizza.
I'll get it.
I was just curious on how it was.
Wasn't it Seagan American Restaurant?
Yeah.
I missed that.
There you go.
We get good food.
That's good. Somebody already ate it? Was it good?
Call this meeting to order, all rise, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Larry Fedler,
Here.
Greg J.
Here.
Brandon Tanka,
Here.
Bryce Howell,
Here.
Scott Stillwell,
Here. Election of officers. Do I have a nomination for president?
I'll nominate Brandon.
Okay. I'll nominate Larry. Do I have a motion to close nominations?
I'll make a motion, we close nominations.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, everyone who wants to vote for Brandon? Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
And we need to trade spots.
Larry, you come sit by me?
Yeah.
And we were just getting that over.
Yeah.
All right, continuing on to vice president nominations. I would like to nominate Bryce Howell. Any other nominations?
I'll nominate Larry.
Okay. We'll close the nominations. All in favor for Bryce Howell? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor for Larry? Say aye.
Aye.
Do I get a vote?
You can vote for yourself, yes.
No, yeah, I'll vote for myself.
Okay. So let the record show that Bryce Howell is the vice president.
Didn't know I could vote for myself.
Okay, additions and deletions to the agenda. Can I get a motion?
No motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes. To the January 10th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Can I get a motion?
No motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Claims and transfers.
From the general, $221,901.46.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, did you say that?
It's okay. You're fine. You want to go ahead and go to water?
That's fine, okay. Water, $68,428.65.
Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, who seconded that? Was that Larry? Thank you. From wastewater, $80,960.13.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And from payroll, $52,394.04.
Can I get a motion? And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for your help. Moving on to communication. Town Marshal.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members. We started out January, we've got 334 calls for service, 486 police services were conducted, 33 traffic arrests, and 40 warnings. I had 2 warrant services, 4 misdemeanor criminal arrests, and 1 felony arrest so far. I will tell you, this past weekend's been extremely busy. In fact, the last week, we've had somebody that's gone on a bit of a crime spree down here and stolen several cars in Owen County, Putnam, taken dumps some cars in Morgan County. We've recovered at least 2 of the cars so far, and we've locked up a couple of people that were accessories in the thing, so we're still looking for the one guy who's still got a stolen car right now, but we spent a lot of hours looking for these people, so it's been a very busy weekend. We've got a, we talk about new our new reserve. We got, I don't know if you all, several of you might remember Brad Magnuson, who was here as reserve probably 2 years or so ago. He's coming back to us. He's turnkey ready to come on as reserve. He's coming back to Cloverdale, so he'll be starting here pretty soon. So you'll see his face again. And then we've got we're trying to get the second SRO up and going. I know you got the MOU, take a look at it. I know Cloverdale Schools were wanting to get a copy of that MOU, and I think South Putnam.
Right. I emailed some questions back, and was told that when we got back, we'd discuss this.
Okay, yeah,
I thought maybe we'd do that this week. So
that's fine. Yeah, and they're pretty well ready to move forward, I think, in talking to both of the schools. So, and if that's the case, our other reserve, who we're looking at to fill that position, is in the room, which is Alan Driver, sitting back over here. So, the other thing, I need to get approval. You've already approved the dog kennel for Sam's car. We need to try to get the hot pop. It's the device for the vehicle that will enable him to remotely open the door on the vehicle. It will also pop the door open if the temperature gets too much. The dog doesn't. In the summertime, if something goes wrong with the AC, you know what's in there. It'll allow the dog to get out. And also, when he's out on a traffic stop, he can hit that pop-a-lock, and so he can deploy the dog in the event that he needs the dog, needs his partner. But I gotta get your approval on that. I think it's 1,400, is it 1,400?
Yeah, it's on there. They all received copies last.
You all had copies of that. We just need to get your approval on that. We have the money in the canine fund to pay for it.
Can I see that? I wasn't here last meeting.
Yeah, Adam?
Make sure.
The reason we need this now is because if you don't install that electrical system prior to installing the cage, this has to be ran under the car, which makes it susceptible to the weather, road debris, anything. If you install it before the cage, you run it inside the car, under the cage.
And with this, we just have to purchase the device itself. Sam and Kyle Lee's gonna help him. The two canine officers can install it.
And the shipping. The shipping in the crate.
Any questions in regards to the pop lock or hot and pop device?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unless you have any questions for me, that's all that I've got. I may not be able to stay, I'm covering the roads. In fact, a lot of people said they hadn't seen, I've been working night shift a lot the last couple of weeks, so I'm the night shift guy today, so I'm listening while you're talking, so.
Okay, fire chief, or anybody from the fire department? Okay. Town manager?
I'm gonna turn it over to Eric Smith with HWC Engineering. He'll probably even add a couple items onto this as well as what's on the agenda, because we've got a lot of projects, so he'll be able to update you on some of these projects.
Thanks, Jason. First thing we have is we have a bid opening for Bennington Way. Is a road project that's being funded through the Community Crossings Program. Bids were due today for that project. What I would recommend is that we open the bids, read them aloud, and take them under advisement pending our review. We do have time for that. We have to have contracts back to NDOT by April the 6th, so we have time to review, and we can have a recommendation to you at your March meeting. You still have time to meet NDOT's required timeline.
Go ahead, sir.
There are 3 bids, you said?
Two.
2.
This one is revision, sunset extension. And the grading goes. Is it on the right page here, or is it?
There should be a bid schedule there on the total.
This is DC Construction from Noblesville, Indiana. Here's the total project is $853,937.38. Foyt's, is that how you pronounce it?
Points.
Foyt's Construction from Paris, Illinois.
F-O-Y-T.
FEUTZ, I believe.
Yep.
I like Floyd's house.
Total project $1,158,740.60.
Under advisement, as Mr. Smith indicated, take this under advisement, we'll let the bids be reviewed, make sure they're all in compliance, we'll vote on the next meeting. So this will go into, take under advisement.
What was the deadline you did in the contract, Eric?
We have to have contracts back to NDOT by April 6th. so we can take action at your March meeting.
March meeting.
And this is for the,
Bennington.
yeah.
I'll make a motion that we take this under advisement. Secretary, review.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jason, you want me to move on to water then?
You go whatever order you want.
Okay.
You've got a bunch of different issues.
I'm going to turn part of that over to you, but there is some water work that is being done that affects the project that we've scoped out and have an application in the state funding. There's a relocation that is of the town's water main north of I-70 that is being necessitated by an NDOT project. It's a water main that serves Poet. The town is going to get most of that paid for by NDOT through hardship program that they have. And what we've been looking at is that's going to leave a gap of a larger size main from that point of relocation down to I-70. And one of the projects in the water study and that we completed was extending a 10-inch water main from the town's storage tank north, crossing I-70, and then running north along the 231 right-of-way. So since this relocation is being done, there's another funding source that is currently available called READY, that the county has some available funds. So we've been looking at trying to fund the section where this relocation for NDOT ends south to the Interstate 70 right-of-way line. So then we'd have a solid line, won't have that gap, and it'll actually help reduce the cost of the town's project when we get funding from the state. Jason, I don't know if you want to touch on the NDOT process and the dollar figures for that part. I've not been involved in that directly.
At the last meeting, we talked about it, it had been engineered on both sides of the road. It was finally determined, and we did sign an agreement with them after conversations with the council. We are gonna be on the west side of the road, which is where it was originally engineered, where HWC had engineered it in the PER. So we'll still be staying on the same side of the road. I did go to the commissioners meeting yesterday and requested $106,000. That would be our portion that we pay. They did agree to put $100,000 in their edit plan that they will actually be voting on next Monday. But they did actually take action in that meeting yesterday to put $100,000 towards this project. So for us to complete that section from Poet to NDOT, where the NDOT garage is going to cost us about $6,000. So I'm pretty happy with that. What he's talking about is the other section from the NDOT garage all the way to I-70. Now that's kind of, we're still working on that section. But we know the part that we have to do is gonna cost us $6,000. I tried to give us all 106, but they didn't really agree on 100. I said I would take it, so.
Absolutely.
But we have signed those agreements, our work plans have been turned over to the engineers on that. I'm sure you've noticed that they're moving the utility poles right now. They are in, some of those poles are in conflict with our sewer. So we're gonna be doing some potholing out there and doing some work with that. But also, while we're up there talking about that project, there is still a little section where we have to relocate a small section of wastewater, our forced main up there. We sent the work plan in today, and that's about a $20,000 project. Now, that's gonna be a self-funded project, but I have tried to include it into this READY, if we can include it in there as well. So that's kind of a whole nother side, but while we're
It
talking
should be
about this
eligible,
section-
but that's something we need to work through with the READY
Correct.
group.
READY does not pay 100%. READY is, it can be anywhere up to $1 for a dollar match. We were actually applying for a little bit better percentage than that even, so.
North of the interstate, who is on our service?
There are 6 customers total, I think, is that correct? I think it's 6 customers. This is, that line is very old, it's currently a 6-inch line, it's very old, we've had a lot of issues with it. The material is not one that we're real fond of either. But this has kind of been in the works for at least been considered for the last 30 years, my understanding, is to replace that to encourage development between Cloverdale and all the way up to US 40. 10-inch line, we kind of did some research to make sure that that would satisfy if the industry came in up there, housing came in up there, if we could supply water to all the way up to South Putnam at some point. So that's kind of how the 10-inch line came. So part of the cost of this, it was only $50,000 to relocate. $50,000 was the, or just shy of 50,000, was the actual upsizing of the pipe. They would, NDOT would only pay for relocating a 6-inch pipe. And that's where we made the determination that it makes sense to, if you're going to move that pipe, then now's the time to put the pipe, a bigger pipe in the ground. So there's 50,000, and the county was agreeable to that. So that's kind of where the water project stands. We'll let you know on the southern half as soon as we get that figured out.
Yeah, we're working on that concurrent with the other, so, I would say we'll have a final plan on that second piece south of the relocation at your March meeting. I would say we would know if that's gonna be funded. Okay. All right.
Again,
The only other item on water is we have, in 2022's legislative session, there was a law enacted that if a community is going to receive funds from the state revolving fund, which is, the Indiana Finance Authority has the state revolving loan fund, which is what your current wastewater project is currently in line to receive funding for. We also have an application and a study in for the water project that this main going up to I-70 is part of. That legislating law was that in order to receive funds and be eligible, community had to have an asset management plan on file and certified to the Indiana Finance Authority. They have guidance. An asset management plan is basically an inventory of the utilities assets and a plan to manage and replace financially over a 20-year period all the assets in the utility. Basically, what they want to know is if they're going to loan you money for a project, that you have the fiscal plan to manage your utility so that you can pay them back and also manage your utility going forward. So what I have tonight is a contract. We are already under contract on the wastewater project, and the asset management plan is already in our contract for it, so we're already doing it. This is to do the asset management plan for the water utility by April 1st, so that the water project that we already have an application in for can be eligible for funding in what the state calls fiscal year 24, which starts July 1st. Their fiscal year goes July to July. So getting this in by April 1st allows the water project to be eligible for funding when their project list comes out July 1st, when their fiscal year starts. The cost for this asset management plan can be fully covered by your project when and if it gets funded by the SRF, and the fee is $30,000 to do the plan. So I have that contract to present tonight. I can answer any questions you all might have.
So you said that was fully funded?
When you can reimburse your utility when the project gets funded by the Indiana Finance Authority. So when they fund your water project, you can include this cost, and basically what you'll do is reimburse your utility for paying for it now.
Okay.
It's an eligible expense as part of the project.
And we're confident it'll get funded.
It will get funded, it's a matter of when, whether it's this fiscal year or next. And then the other unknown is, will you get any grant money, some grant money, how much? So those are the big questions. The road project, it will be funded, it's just a matter of when and how much rate we get. It's not loan.
So Kelly, until we get funded, do we have the funds to pay the $30,000?
This is for water, you said?
Water.
Yes. How long is that asset management plan good for?
It's basically a working document. Once you've certified to them, you have it, you're good. You won't have to do it again.
Okay.
But it's something you basically should update it every few years. As your assets change, you should look at the inventory and update it annually. there is a financial component to this that we'll have to get our friends, the rate consultants to put some dollars to, but this will cover all of the technical portions.
We submitted an application last year without this, though, before the law changed, so that's why we have to do it before. This was gonna have to be completed no matter what, if we got funding. Correct, I mean, even if we had gotten funding last year, we were gonna have to complete this.
Yeah, what changed is SRF has required these for a while. What changed is they now require them on the front end. It used to be when you did a project with them, you had to have one of these completed and certify you had one before you made the last draw on the loan that you took from them. Basically to help ensure that you can manage your utility, make your payments to them, and so forth. Now, they're requiring it up front before you actually receive any from it. That's the difference.
Do you need to look at this?
You sent that
I
one?
sent that one.
Yeah, I wrote that one, yeah, we're fine. Yeah.
Anybody have any other questions regarding the water system improvements contract that got presented to us here tonight?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Eric, is that similar to the community crossings where they want the inventory of your streets to make sure that you
It's
follow the
similar.
plan?
It's similar that, instead of doing an inventory of your streets and rating them, on this, we're doing an inventory of the water utilities assets, pumps, water mains, and we're giving them a rating, and basically determining from that rating, when might they have to be replaced, and what might that cost, and then that's where the financial piece comes in. So it's a good tool for keeping your utility up to date.
Jason, do you need to sign this then?
I think it is the council president.
Okay, anybody else?
I think there's just one place for signature on there, and there should be 2 copies there. I think it's on page 9.
Yes.
You signed as president. Brandon, did you sign president, the president behind your name?
I did.
Okay.
Let me switch gears to wastewater then, or is there anything else on water?
I mean, the one thing I guess I could bring up, and this isn't with you, Eric, we did, it's not on the agenda or the docket for tonight, I don't believe, but we did get an invoice from Curry and Associates. They did the engineering section, and I should have brought it up a minute ago, for the NDOT portion, and it was almost $33,000. I spoke with the folks from the state today. That is gonna be included in that 90% that they're paying for, but what they will be requiring us to do is we will actually have to pay that, NDOT will reimburse us that. So it's not on the docket today, we just talked about it today. So we were just gonna hold on to it to next month, but that invoice is out there, but it is something that we'll be paying and we will get reimbursed for. I should have mentioned that when we were talking about the NDOT stuff, but go ahead, Eric.
Switching gears to wastewater. The town's wastewater project, as well as the project that is bringing Lever into the town's wastewater system for wastewater treatment. We have now completed all of our ground surveys and are actually now moving into plan development for both parts of the project. That's going along well. We will probably have preliminary plans to review with Jason and staff probably around the 1st of March. So we'll probably be scheduling a meeting to go through preliminary plans. Right now, our schedule is to have the project bid ready by the end of June. So we'll be submitting for permits in April and then have it ready to bid by the end of June. The Indiana Finance Authority has told us that they are targeting the town's project for funding in their Q1 of '24, which is July through September. So that's when we would bid the project and close on the financing at that point.
Thanks for that update.
Also on wastewater, the town has entered into an agreed order with IDEM due to some violations that they noted on some past inspections. The main thing they required from that agreed order was a compliance plan. Basically, they listed 7 items that they wanted addressed as far as how the town was going to comply with those items that they noted. One was sanitary sewer overflows and bypasses, high wet weather flows, meeting permit requirements during high flows, influence screen at the wastewater plant. I prepared a compliance plan that can be submitted. They required it from 60 days from when the agreed order was adopted, which is December 16th. So it's due Thursday of this week. The guts or the biggest part of this compliance plan is basically documented and showing the state, the compliance section of the state, the contents of this project you're getting ready to do. Because most of that project on the town side is addressing wet weather flows. It's sanitary sewer rehabilitation, replacement. So we've decided that will address those items in the compliance plan. So all I'm asking for tonight is authorization to submit that to the state on the town's behalf, and if they have any comments, they'll respond, and we may have to make a few modifications.
You might want to address the schedule that is, we believe we could easily comply with our proposed schedule.
Yeah, they want a schedule for implementation, and basically I've taken the schedule that we have for the wastewater project and added some time to each step so that we have some flow, so that, because what you don't want to do is miss the deadline with the state. So I've given us quite a bit of extra time to complete the project and stay on schedule.
All of our violations will be addressed with the new project?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
The timing of all this is spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, your project was already in process when they issued the agreed order, so you were already taking steps to address the issues that they cited you for. So.
And that resulted in a friendlier, you know.
Correct, I would agree. So everybody okay if I go ahead and submit that then to the state?
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, the last item I have is more for information for the council at this point. Jason and Richard are aware of it. That there is, we're getting ready to do this wastewater project, and the typical way of doing projects is kind of like how we just did this, the bid opening on this road project is you design it, you put it out for competitive bids to contractors, you award it, and proceeds to construction. There is a new process that has become a little bit more increasingly popular in the state over the last couple of years. It's a method of selecting a contractor via qualifications base instead of competitively bidding. And it's allowed by state law now. It's called build, operate, transfer. And basically instead of waiting until the design of this wastewater project is 100%, we have everything ready to go out for bid, you can send out requests for qualifications from qualified contractors to submit their qualifications. You can approve them, select them, score them, and then select one. That contractor can then be part of the process, working closely with the engineer, who in this case would be us, and the town staff on the design. And normally they give you a guaranteed maximum price for the project before the design is 100%. What it can do is help expedite delivery, because once you have a guaranteed price, you don't have to wait until you get bids in to start ordering materials. You can start ordering materials while we're finishing, getting permits and so forth. Also, you have a contractor that's offering constructability reviews, helping the engineers through the process, giving them ideas of how you might be able to save money on the project. One of the other benefits for the owner is you get a guaranteed maximum price. One of the riskiest things with construction projects like this is change orders. They happen on a lot of projects. With this process, you have a price, the contractor offers a contingency fund with his price, and there's no change orders. So you eliminate that risk, so to speak. I've got some information that kind of talks about the process. You certainly don't have to do it. I mean, we can continue down the process and do it the traditional, design, bid, build. But I wanted to at least bring it up to you all. I presented it to your attorney and town manager, and we've talked about it, and they suggested we at least bring it up tonight and talk about the merits. If it's something you want to consider, the earlier we do it, the better, because you get a contractor on board sooner and can start pricing things and can get you pricing earlier, and you get that collaboration between the contractor and the design team earlier. If you wait till later, you kind of lose some of those benefits. That's kind of a summary. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And Richard, Jason, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I have not done a BOT. It's kind of fascinating. Kind of traditional, so I kind of like the old school way of doing it. But Eric's right, you lose some control, because I've been in these situations where you open up bids and you get a low bidder, doesn't mean they're the best. And disqualifying the low bid can be tricky, because if you could still submit a low bid and not be able to disqualify, and all of a sudden you're stuck with the contractor that can't do the job, and then they change order you to death, and you get to a point where, well, you've already spent $500,000 and you gotta finish the project. And that's a bad situation to be in. So to answer your question, I don't think I can say either way right now. I'd like to talk to a couple other communities that have done it. And I think Eric's got a couple that we can.
Yeah, we're actually doing this in 2 communities right now. I can safely tell you that both are going well. It's been a good process. But again, I would encourage you to do your due diligence, because it's, it really makes no difference to us either way. We've just seen the benefits to it and wanted to at least bring it to your attention.
And what Eric was talking about as far as the contractor getting in early, there's times where they put together a plan, and they no doubt HWC is qualified, but at the same time, that contractor who does it on the ground knows some tips and tricks, and they can bring those tips and tricks to the table prior to putting it out to bid and helping you get a better idea of the numbers and just the process. And so there's definitely advantages to it. And at this point, I could live. I just would like just a little more information on a couple little aspects.
So I think you listed the black and whites of this program. Are there packets that you have already that can be sent to council members for review?
I have.
Yeah.
This basically highlights a lot of what I told you, along with what's some of the additional pros and cons of the process is. And that, the information on there, that's from one contractor that does it. There are others, and if you put this out, you would likely get multiple proposals from contractors.
Okay. All right. Anything else for Eric?
But what I've we like about it is that you can pick a contractor based on its qualifications. And you're not just looking at that road.
Right.
So, yeah, take a look and you can email any questions you have. I'd be happy to answer them. Get the answers for you.
If you have questions, that,
Yeah.
reach out to me as well.
Do we need to make a motion to?
No, we don't have to, it's just,
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, thank you.
the next meeting, we'll probably have to decide.
Yeah, I think, once everybody's had a chance to really digest it, next meeting, we probably ought to make
Yeah.
a decision whether we want to go down this road or we want to stay down the traditional road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
very much. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Beagle Club Road is on here. We did get our application submitted. I honestly don't even remember when that the announcement's gonna be. You don't know that by any chance, do you, Eric?
I'm sorry?
On community crossings, you remember whether, I know you're not the transportation guy.
You mean when the next application is?
Yeah, but we just submitted this application.
In January,
Yeah, but when they actually will announce,
probably March.
okay. Coming up pretty quickly, we'll know I should have that for you. But that application is in, and that's for the Beagle Club Road portion. Lead and copper inventory, Richard is here, our water operator. We did meet with a consultant about the lead and copper. We're looking at a couple different options there. I'm not sure we really know what direction we're gonna go with that. We're meeting with a contractor Thursday morning just to talk about, Thursday for lunch, I guess, to talk about how we would implement the process. The feds are requiring us to, well, I think we've talked about this before, investigate all possible lead and copper that's in our system. So there's just a process for it, and it's a couple-year process. Eric, you can probably talk about this better than I can. It's a couple-year process.
The inventory is due October 24. That's just an inventory saying where you know there is lead and where you know there is not lead. So then there is another period you have to actually do something about it. So
We're still trying to figure out how. There's been very little guidance. It seems like it's starting to trickle out now. Here just in the last few weeks, there's been a little bit of guidance trickling out. So we're still not sure what direction to go with that. We had 120 water on here, if you recall, as one of our items. We could actually change that to lead and copper, because we don't know that that's the direction we want to go. So I just want to keep that on there until we get figured out what we're doing, and I don't think we're prepared to give you a recommendation on that yet. Next thing is 54 East Park, and that was brought to my attention. That is the building on the south side of Market Street, east of 231. There is no sidewalk in front of that building. There's a picture that you should have received, and actually I took a couple pictures the other night too. It is a bad situation, and it probably does need a sidewalk. I did talk to the gentleman that has been the local bidder on the last two sidewalks, and he did give me a quote today to put aside, provided you guys want to do this, to put a sidewalk only in front of that building. He gave me a quote of $2,460. If we decided we wanted to go ahead and go from that building east all the way to Lafayette Street, which is probably in need of replacement as well, but not as immediate as directly in front of the building, it's $4,810. When it does rain, there's standing water there in front of that building. And I don't know where that sidewalk ever went, or I assume there had to have been a sidewalk there at some point in time.
It was.
Do you have any idea where it went?
Into the earth.
Well,
I remember there was a sidewalk there.
it appears that there was a sidewalk. There's a sidewalk, you can see it in the picture where it just ends. And-
Larry, did it just stop at the alleyway as well?
Yes, yeah.
From what you remember?
Yeah, we just talked it down. How much did you say it was to
Just in
go all the way
front,
to
from,
Lafayette?
yeah, to do that section in front of that building, and this is in front of the Heath building, if you know where I'm talking about. Just in front of the building was $2,460 to go from in front of the building and all the way east towards the school to Lafayette Street, and in there where we actually have sidewalks that were just constructed a couple years ago and connect to that was $4,810. I have not talked to Kelly about this really, other than we just briefly, I don't know,
Yeah, I just got it this afternoon.
so. But, the lady there says there's standing water, and there is, I mean, I was over there the other day, and there's standing water, and it's, you know, a person coming in and out of that building. When it's raining, it's not a good situation.
But the sidewalk's gonna take care of that water.
It may create a problem, I don't know.
Looks like it's a, you can buy a lot of gravel for $2,400.
I think if we're gonna do it, we need to go all the way to Lafayette.
Yeah, if we're gonna do it, for sure.
Tie into the sidewalk that's there.
I mean, my argument would be every other downtown business has a sidewalk in front of them, and that is our downtown business area. I just kind of would love to know what happened to the sidewalk before. Did the owner of the property rip it out? Did the town rip it out?
Concern is though, if the sidewalk gets put in, water, because that building obviously apparently is pretty close to ground level. What if the water goes in the building?
Well, you're gonna have to dig it out. Sidewalk can't really be any taller, any higher than what it
You're gonna
is
have to go below.
the ground.
So this is, yeah,
So it's gotta be
this is
dug
being
out.
back east of the marathon, right?
Correct.
Correct, the very next building. That would also include.
Is there, yeah, I mean, correct, I just don't know, is there, coming from the west, is there a sidewalk from 231 to Market?
Along Market.
Yeah, along Market from 231,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
from the marathon.
But then it goes down and there's a driveway that, where you go the back way to the,
Well, that's actually an alleyway.
yeah,
Like Clover Evans.
correct. I was gonna say nursing home, or rehab center, whatever you call that.
There may be a sidewalk under the gravel. The sidewalk may actually be below that gravel.
Basically.
That gravel is
But you
locked
can see
in
where it
Right
stops
next to
here.
it.
Right.
I kind of feel like
But
it's
you see
not,
how it's
by
not
looking
right
at
there.
it,
Okay.
but I did not do, see.
I mean, it looks like the sidewalk stops like 3 or 4 feet off the building.
My assumption is it's the root down.
That's what it looks like. Because there's a square cut here, or, you know.
And Richard, you said you don't remember that?
Being taken out?
Yeah.
No, I'm not, I'm pretty certain the town is not taking it out. We had no reason to, there's no water on that side or nothing, so.
Could be the owner taking it out, but no water from going in the building.
Well, I would say it's.
The
owner of
building is
building.
almost below road grade,
Yeah.
looking at it.
Yeah.
I wonder if they figured out a way to keep the water from flowing in.
Looks to me like they took the existing sidewalk, if any was there, just so they wouldn't have near the flooding problem at the door.
Because the sidewalk that's left looks like it's probably slightly higher than the door sills.
Yeah.
There's not any stormwater there, is there?
There's a clean out just to the west of it.
It's on the north side of the street, I know. Is there anything on, is there any storm drainage there?
Just the highway or Lafayette, you got the new storm drain. on
Well, I'm
Lafayette.
wondering if we should do stormwater from that alleyway down to Lafayette while we're doing it. And take care of some stormwater while we're doing that.
Where'd Eric go?
Out the door.
But I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, Richard, do you have any
I don't
clues that,
disagree.
there's a cap on the west side of the building here. Looks like a clean out or something.
There's a meter.
Water meter
That's
right
the
there.
meter.
That's a meter.
Yeah, a meter cover.
And it could be moved as well.
Gotcha.
Back out of the way.
Or it could actually be put in the sidewalk, can't it? Could be.
Yeah. Yeah, that would protect it from the traffic more than what it gets now.
I think we need some more information.
No, I'm okay with that. I mean, we could potentially make that a stormwater project. I don't know if water stands there or where it runs. I mean,
Well,
that's,
it looks like that building is probably right up the street grade.
Well, and probably the street is actually higher than it should be.
Yeah. Probably due to build up over the years.
Correct.
this was just brought to our attention. This was a complaint from us.
I think it needs some elevation shots on the floor of the, inside the building and the sidewalk and the road and where the storm sewer is on Lafayette Street. To coordinate all this stuff together to give this stormwater someplace to go.
I think the last thing we
Just
want to do right
replacing the
now
sidewalk and raising the elevation may dump the stormwater
That's-
inside the building. And that's something you don't want to do. But
Yeah,
then
you're
you're
still gonna
buying
have
the
flood
building.
water, even with a $2,500 sidewalk.
I don't
It's still
support
gonna be there.
Yeah, I think this needs more investigating before we pour a sidewalk.
Is that owner-occupied, is it owned, or is that person leasing that?
I believe they released that token.
Or the owner to give you history on it?
It's had several owners in the last 25 years.
I think they'll be living in town.
I believe there was an apartment in the back.
Let's push this back, Jason.
Oh, I'm absolutely okay with that. Brought to our attention, that's why it's on your agenda. High service pump, this is Richard again. And his wife, by the way, is very unhappy with him when he's not putting on his dog.
Your wife is happy.
He informed me of that 3 times today.
Well, I got a couple things to update our assets. We have a high service pump that is out, and I think you guys got a quote from Bassett and Logan. To just do the pump is $8,500, and to get the complete motor pump and all of it together is $12,360. And it's all ready to sit in there. Just take the other one out and put this one in.
And what kind of warranties do you get?
That I don't have info, but I can ask for the pump. Because with the first option, we would be using the original motor, which has been 11 years since it's had anything done to it. And that was 2000, so 2011, so we're back at the 11 years, so this way we could replace it with pump, new color.
So the 12,000 includes a pump, impeller, everything?
Yes.
Versus 8,000 for a rebuilt motor?
And then put it on there, put the 8,000 pump on there and then the motor, go back.
Right.
And you're not gonna get, I don't see getting a motor for 4,000, by itself. So,
I'm good with that. My only concern is if I'm reading the agenda, or if I'm reading stuff correctly, they quoted us $12,900 for an invoice we're gonna talk about here in a little bit, and it ended up being 16 grand. So, that's my only concern, is if they stay true to their quote.
okay, and I'll say this to that, there's a lot more unseens under the ground of the well, and 8 feet of pipe, and getting an adapter unstuck than there is inside the plant with the motor pump sitting right there.
This is a delivered pump, so there's no extra additional cost. It's-
Well, that's good, as long as that, if this quote is true, then I'm good with it. But having almost 5 grand extra to their last quote, I'm not okay with. So, if they stay true to the quote, I'm good.
The motion be to approve that amount.
My motion will be to approve this one, yes.
Is there any other questions for Richard? Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll motion
I'll second.
What's the motion?
For the 12,000.
to approve the 12,360.
The new pump.
Yeah, the new
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 for that. Can we step on down to the next one? Skip on. Talk about that invoice and quote.
It's under claims.
I think there was one thing on the agenda between that.
Outstanding checks, and then there's two. So we're skipping down to the quote I was just talking about.
So on the well cleaning, they quoted it for $12,900, and when they get out there to do it, they had trouble. We had the same issue with well 4 when we done it, getting the adapter unstuck, unconnected. We knew of that because they had tried to pull it previously, couldn't pull it, so we knew it was stuck on 4. Didn't have a clue it was stuck on 3, but it was, so there's some extra labor on getting that, and then they replaced the pipe going, the 4-inch pipe that goes down to the motor. When they took it out, to try to get the 20-foot sections apart, when they put a wrench on it, it would just nearly crumble it or smash it, just putting a pipe wrench on it. So we replaced the casing on 2, or not the casing, but the pipe on 2 and 4, and now 3. The 4-inch pipe going down to the pump motor, well motor. So that's the difference in that, with the extra man hours and the $2,000 in price in the pipe.
Any questions for Richard? Okay. Can I get a motion for this portion?
I make the motion that we pay invoice 18,259.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Richard. Okay. Tyler?
You have in your packets a list of outstanding checks. These have gone on, checks that have gone unpaid for 2 years, and for Indiana code, these checks are now declared void. So I've given you that list. I have received them back into the funds that they were drawn from. So that will also be recorded in the minutes. You also have reports in your packet as well. You have the appropriation report. It's January, so thankfully we're doing pretty good still on the budget. You also have a revenue report, and this is different than I've given you in the past. I'm trying to track things a little bit different. I'm really focusing this year on trying to keep track of the revenue that's coming in and seeing how it matches up with what the state has projected for us and what actually comes in to see how that works. So the revenue report that I've given you, it has a projected column, and that's most of those numbers have come directly from the state of what they expect us to receive in those categories, especially the tax revenue that comes from them. And then some of them, I've estimated just on past history, but that's just, I guess, for my own personal information and also for you guys, so we can see, what we expect to get, and then just watch it as it comes in to see how that really corresponds. So that's a little bit different. You also have the water and sewer budget in your packet as well. And then the only other thing I have is there's one claim that exceeded the amount to pay for. It is from Andy Moore. This was from the police department. I believe this was on the marshal's truck, and I think it was for an oil change, brakes, new tires, and decals. You got new decals on the truck as well.
It's my understanding that the new decals were covered under, because the last ones didn't hold up, that they did that for free. So what's the amount we're asking for?
The total-
$24.90 or the $66 that's on
The $24.90 is the total, $2,490.28.
Well, per Marshall Hibbler, the decals should have been covered because the last ones didn't hold up.
Did you look at the invoice? Because I think there's a price on those.
Well, if there is, then we need to discuss that.
I'm not seeing it listed. Is anybody else?
Send to Manny for detail and remove decals, then goes to Kent for new decal install. We don't need to be paying for a detail job on it. You should. There's tires we use detail.
Yeah, it's got John number five total parts, $0, but then it's got John number 5 total parts and labor, $275. So were the decals covered and the labor charged for? Do you know?
You want me to hand it to them, or?
Oh, no, they have it. I just didn't know if you had any more
I
information.
didn't know it was there until they told me to go get it.
Okay.
Do you want to get clarification from Steve Hiller? Council members?
Are these the decals that identify as a piece?
Yeah,
It's the new decals on the truck.
That would have been done by,
Yeah,
It's a company that Manny uses,
oh,
that
okay.
does all of ours.
according to what he told me, the last decals were faulty and they were replacing them at no cost, is what I was told. So the tires and the brakes I'm good with, but the decals, we need, granted, $275 is cheap, but we need to understand why that is what it was, in my opinion.
Or you could approve it minus the amount of the decals in the installation.
I'll make a motion to approve it minus the decals and installation upon clarification from Marshall Hitler.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's all.
Thank you. Okay, planning commission. Vacancy, Larry, I might need some guidance on the next few items here. Cindy Holland's seat, town council appointment must be an elected official town employee.
Correct.
Term is current through the 25th, December 31st of 2025. If anyone is interested, please reach out to any council member. If you know anybody, please have them reach out to a council member, or Kelly or Jason. Park board vacancy, redevelopment. We still have vacancy on that board as well. So again, if anybody knows of anybody, please have them reach out. Be greatly appreciated. Ordinances and resolutions.
All right. Yeah, you have one resolution, 2023-1. It is a resolution declaring a fund dormant. This fund, it is fund number 2239. It's credit card service fee. It's been dormant for 2 years. This fund, when it was set up prior to me, what they did was all the credit card convenience fees, when they got those daily, they would receive them into this separate fund. Then when the credit card bill would come due and they'd have to pay the fees, they pay them out of the operating funds, water and sewer. And then randomly, they would just transfer some of the money from the credit card fee into the operating fund. What I've done is created a revenue line in the operating funds specifically for the credit card fees, so it goes directly into the operating fund where we pay it out of. So there's no need for the middleman fund to transfer. So we haven't used this fund for 2 years, and after 2 years, you can declare it dormant. There is a balance in that fund of $6,609.64, which when the fund is declared dormant, that money will be transferred out to the operating funds and give it 0 balance.
I'll make an option or make a motion to close it and transfer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. That will need to be retyped.
Okay, is there
If
time
you've
for?
got, if you've got names on that.
I'm sorry, like,
For the signatures, if you have names,
oh, because the council member you want me to include.
well, I'm on there and Greg's on there. And you
As
want-
president and vice, and there's new tonight.
Oh, on 2023-1?
Yes.
Okay.
If they're listed as president or vice, if they're not listed, then it doesn't
I
matter.
said, I don't have that on my printed copy.
Okay,
but I'll
that's
give
fine.
that to you. I will double check that for sure. I mean, yeah.
Wait a minute, looks like we all signed
Yeah.
it. I didn't see that.
I think we all do.
I'm sorry.
Is that 2023-1?
Yeah.
Okay, I will double check what's in your packet. It should be exactly.
No,
what's
I
there.
thought the same thing, then I scrolled down. and
Yeah, I did scroll down when I said that. so.
Okay, okay.
Anything else, Kelly? Okay. New business. Stardust?
So we had one item come up during the last week's meeting. A member asked about the fire hydrants. They were curious how long they were, the frequency on doing a flush on them.
To the fire department.
Okay. There's nothing said with that. Okay. And then also maybe the appearance, they go through and pay them.
I have a question about that. The town collects $3.50 per water and sewer user for hydrant maintenance. Is that money turned over to the fire department? Or where do you use it? Fire hydrants haven't been flushed in Stardust Hills in better than 20 years. We don't know if they work or not.
You say,
They ain't been painted in I don't know how many years.
you say 20 years they've not been flushed?
that I'm aware of. Might be more than that.
It's not been over 20 years now.
I thought they had to flush them every,
From my recollection, it's every 5 years they have to do flush mandatory.
You're collecting money from the resident on every water and sewer bill for hydrant maintenance.
Well, flushing is not really maintenance. Maintenance when the kids run over or something, maybe go leaks and we have to dig it up and fix it.
Is there a separate item for hydrant?
There is a hydrant fee.
And it's for every, we had that for people outside the city, but what is the city limit? The rate, is it a rate difference?
I don't believe so. I don't know. There's a separate line item fee on the bill. That's $3.50 for hydrant fee.
and that goes into what fund?
It goes into, I believe, the water operating fund.
Same place we would replace a hydrant.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just work for the city of Greencastle. Fire hydrants belong to the city of Greencastle Water Department. They are responsible for maintenance and flushing and painting. Something you might want to look into and know as far as I can tell, the fire hydrant to the east of me and west of me on Lazy River Road have not been flushed in probably 15 to 20 years.
How to flush them hydrants.
Thank you for that information.
Because in Greencastle, we had some issues by Jones School. When we went to flush them, we put a 4-foot pipe on them, we couldn't get them to budge. So those hydrants were ear tagged and replaced. Because if you can't move them with a 4-foot pipe, you're gonna break the stem off the ground, and then you have an issue. So, yeah, it's not a good thing.
Thank you.
Kelly, does the town pay a hydrant, does the town general fund pay any type of hydrant rental fee?
No, not that I'm aware of.
I know I've seen where, in like Ward 3 where I live, they've been flushed within the past 5 years. So there has to be documentation on that.
Okay, well, to get back to this fee, and we can research this, but providing hydrants is a governmental responsibility, not the water department's responsibility. So a lot of towns, the towns will pay out of the general fund the tax dollars to the water utility. And honestly, I've not looked into this, but I suspect this is a second option, rather than the town general paying, it's more of a tax than it is a utility fee. It's because it's not uncommon. Now, I've not looked into this, and honestly, this is the first time I've dealt with this. But I suspect this fee, this 350 fee, is in lieu of a property tax.
Do we have any sort of SOPs on how often we flush? Do we flush?
Oh, no. Well, I mean, there's two parts here, when we flush, and that's, we can start, Richard and I can talk about that at a later point, because there probably needs to be a flushing program. But I'm kind of, I mean, I'm just, the 350, we probably do need to look and see what that process is. I suspect that's in lieu of a tax, because I know, when I was clerk at Bainbridge, we would calculate, there was a fee that we would pay for every fire hydrant in town, and I don't remember exactly what the number was, but let's say $12. So every hydrant in town, the town general fund would take it out of the budget, the one that you pass every year, so the tax dollars, and write a check to the water utility. And we're not doing that here, and I suspect this is kind of in lieu of that. So let us look,
Yeah.
let's look into that, because honestly, I have not dealt with that at all. I haven't been involved with that, I could have been, but I just hadn't given thought to that. I think we may have an issue, but the water flushing, that's something Richard and I, we can start. It's not a bad idea. I know that there are a lot of towns that don't ever flush, but it's a good idea to flush.
Absolutely.
It does get people fired up for a couple days, because you're gonna get some groundwater.
Yes, sir.
We never reach work.
I know the city of Greencastle, but they were on a schedule of every 6 months. Did that happen every 6 months? No, it did not. There was times it would go a year and a half. And I think that's just due to superintendent, I want to spend money on overtime. So,
Well, I mean, if we've got hydrants that have been flushed for 15, 20 years, like.
That's not true. I don't hear anybody in this room sit here and say it's been 15 or 20 years. It's been a few years, but it's not been 15 and 20. Jeez.
I do remember on Stardust Way, when we had that house fire just past the little cul-de-sac, and the fire department did tap into the hydrant, and it was non-functional.
And that's where?
Just up from Lazy River Road, like, there's that little teeny tiny cul-de-sac. Right past there was a house fire, trailer fire, where there was 2 or 3 right there. I think that main or something was repaired late last year, right there on the corner, where the office sign is, where they had, something was done there. But I know they tapped into that, and it was non-functional. Nothing came out.
Our fire department never notified us of that.
And, you know, I
I wasn't
mean,
aware of it.
And I said, Jason, you and Richard get a plan, we figure out.
Well, I would encourage the fire department to notify us.
Well, I agreed 100%, but I think there needs to be some sort of SOPs from here forward on how often, and it needs
Yes, that's a separate issue.
needs to be recorded and logged when we've done it.
Okay, EAS contract renewal.
That's the IT department, we have a contract with them and is up for renewal.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay. Second,
Second.
all in favor? Any questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
You want someone for redevelopment? I'll take it. If you want me there, I'll put it with the others.
Let's talk here in a few minutes, okay? Absolutely, we'll take it though. Anybody else? Okay, meeting's adjourned.